This concept of letting myself like my own writing and viewing my writing journey as something that I am allowed to be excited about. It's a foreign concept to me.
Pretty eyes in your head, you know it. You got me dancing in my bed, so let me show it. You are exactly what I want, kinda cool and kinda not. Wanna give myself to you.
Hi. So anytime I've written things that like wasn't for school, like once it's written and I like to move on to the next thing. You know, I don't like to dwell. If I don't feel like revising something, I just won't revise it, you know what I mean? But I recently finished writing an adult fantasy, which, okay, side tangent, I was editing that vlog. Low-key, I was like, maybe I should upload like the last like half of this vlog. I was like really weirdly emotional in that vlog where I like wrote the last act of that book. I think a lot of writers obviously go through highs and lows, you know what I mean? There are some weeks where we're like super motivated and then other weeks where we just like don't know if writing is like worth pursuing. But anyways, yeah, if that was like the first video of mine that you'd ever watched and you're like, what the heck is up with this girl? Like, why is she like this? I swear I'm not usually like that. Anyways, we're putting that behind us and I wanted to start this vlog because I think I'm gonna be revising Project Night. I want to vlog some of it because I don't know if I know what I'm doing. Because as I've said, I've never properly committed to a revision process before, so we're kind of like treading some new water right now. Even with the previous manuscripts that I've finished, that I've worked on, I tend to let them sit on the shelf because it takes a really long time for ideas to like marinate and stuff like that. Usually I also like every time I finish any story, I don't like to read it over at least for a few weeks, but it's been about 1 week since I finished writing this book, and the reason that I want to start revising it now is because there are parts in this draft that I want to brush up for a beta read. So I'm gonna be calling this draft 1.5 because I don't think it's gonna count as a draft 2. I don't think I'm gonna be doing like heavy developmental edits yet. My plan, I get so scared saying the words my plan on camera because when have plans ever worked out? My plan though is that I want to brush up the sections of this manuscript that I feel like are a little undercooked, that I feel like are a little messy, because when I give it to people to beta read, I don't want to give them a hot pile of garbage, you know? I want to make sure that it's something decent, that there's a story there, but it's not going to be like a heavy revision yet. It's more going to be like a little tidying up. Honestly, when it comes to writing, I tend to get a lot more ideas and motivation and clarity on my stories when I'm able to talk them out and get input from other people. I think that's why revision is a really fun time, because I just love being able to like see a different side of the story once another person has read it. What I'm doing as of right now, I am going to make like a breakdown of the plot. I'm gonna go through the manuscript and I'm gonna write out basically a little Cliff's Notes of what happens in every chapter. So I have like a plot at a glance. And I'm thinking that this might help me because I did deviate from certain parts of the outline. So I can't use my outline as like a plot at a glance because some things have changed. So I'm gonna do that over this weekend, and then I'm going to try to zero in on those chapters and scenes that I think are still underdeveloped, that I think need some work, and we'll go from there. I also expect that I'm gonna need to tighten up some character motivation. So that's what I'm gonna be looking out for the most. And then obviously like world building and magic system stuff is, I'm gonna try to flag it as well, but plot and character is like the number one thing that I want to focus on. It's gonna be like a can of worms, you know, like I'm gonna crack it open and I'm gonna realize like how bad everything really is. Okay, so update. I've been working on just trying to organize my thoughts and ideas, and then I have another doc that is basically just like my revision idea dump. So I started making this while I was in the middle of drafting. I just have a page where every time I realize that there's like something I need to fix or something that I want to expand on, I dumped it into this document. So it's kind of disorganized. Like I have it split up into like lore, magic system, character, world building, and then just like general plot stuff. I also have like a section for like nomenclature. Just keeping inventory of the spelling of all the fictional places and languages and cultures. I have not decided if I'm going to do a draft 1.5 as I mentioned yesterday, or if I'm going to go straight into draft 2, because I have all of these ideas for heavy developmental edits. I just have a lot of ideas where I want to expand on things. I want to go a little bit deeper into my world building. I want to find more areas to tie world building to thematic ideas, because I don't think that there is enough of that in draft 1. I didn't really, there are some moments, but I think that there's definitely more opportunity to like go harder in the paint. You know what I mean? My gut right now is telling me that I should just start re-outlining for draft 2, because like, why not? But I think I'm gonna like take inventory of the plot, like I said, first, because I want to make sure that I have all my ducks in order. I don't know though, I'm getting really overwhelmed right now, so I don't know, but I think doing this draft breakdown first is gonna help me feel a little bit more organized, because yes, right now I am very overwhelmed. When it comes to revising, my biggest thing is that I have a really hard time cutting side characters because I get very attached to them. But I just know I might have to not cut them. Then I need to repurpose them. I need to figure out why they're here in the story. 2 or 3 characters that I don't want to cut, but that I know in my gut need to be strengthened. And in strengthening their role in the story, it doesn't mean that they can necessarily get more screen time, because otherwise this book is gonna be too freaking big. And I don't think that I want to change that flow. I don't know. I guess in the draft 2, there are no rules. It's 4 p.m. It doesn't feel like 4 p.m. I don't know why it feels like it's only noon. Okay. Can you tell that I've had way too much coffee today? Oh. So yesterday I got a little carried away. I was going to do my whole draft breakdown, taking inventory of the plot. However, I started like taking notes on changes I want to make, things I want to strengthen, and it sort of spiraled out of hand. So now that I've written the first draft, I feel like I have a lot more clarity about who the characters are, because I think so much of writing a first draft is understanding your characters. So now that I've done that, I kind of just took some notes for the things that I want to strengthen about the character arcs for the 2 main characters, and I also highlighted some things that I want to strengthen for a key side character who is integral in like setting into motion some of like the antagonistic threats in the story. To be honest, I kind of felt like there would be more things that I wanted to change, but then I spent pretty much all of yesterday thinking about what exactly I wanted to change, and there aren't too many things that I want to change about the character arcs themselves. It's more that now that I know sort of who they are and what their journey is, it's more about figuring out how to strengthen the themes that are tied to those character arcs so that the whole story kind of has some thematic cohesion. Other things that I ironed out were just some lore and history stuff, as well as historical timelines, because that's something that I always get mixed up whenever I'm writing a first draft, is stuff that happens in history and then I don't necessarily have like a clear timeline in my head, or the timeline that I plan in my outline gets like messed up. So that is one thing that I also ironed out yesterday. The other thing that I had to iron out was sort of the elements of Filipino folklore that I'm actually pulling from, that I'm incorporating into the story. I feel like online, at least, the amount of information that is out there about this kind of stuff is not as much as you would probably be used to seeing with like a lot of Western or European folklore. And then also with the Philippines just having very disparate regions, all the different regions kind of have their own versions of stories and creatures and tales and stuff like that. The research process of this book has always been a little bit strange, because I would say the folklore is only one aspect of the book, and also it's kind of tough because I was struggling a lot in the first draft with like authenticity. How important is it to like stay true to some of the cultural stuff, which includes like the mythology and the folklore. And for that specifically, it's really difficult because there is no one truth. And so I think the balance that I'm trying to strike right now is understanding kind of like the crux of whatever I'm pulling from folklore, commonalities across different versions and accounts, trying to extract theme from that and seeing if that theme ties into the narrative that I'm trying to write. Authenticity is this like weird concept that I've been trying to like juggle, because I think that it's going to be impossible to write a quote unquote authentic story, because that is going to be different for every single person. I made some notes for things to change in the climax of the book, the final action sequence. I want to change some things there. I think one of the weakest parts about this draft actually is sort of how I executed the exposition of the politics. So much of it happens off screen, and I want to keep it that way because that's part of the mystery. I do think it caused some clarity issues towards the end of the book when some of those mysteries have to be unraveled. When I rewrite it and when I replot it, I want to work on that. And then finally, one of the biggest things that I put into my revision notes is sort of it's not an overhaul of the magic system, but it is a much more in-depth breakdown of the magic system, because it comes across a little bit haphazard in draft 1. I don't love the way that I introduced the magic system in draft 1. I want to have like a clearer breakdown of how abilities actually work. This is something that I think if you grew up on a steady diet of like shonen anime or something, I think this is something that, at least in my mind, maybe this is just me, I find with shonen anime that most do a pretty good job of onboarding you onto like the mechanics of the system. Like you'll start by being introduced by the base concept and then it will scale. And so you have like a sense of like growth and understanding of like strength. I wouldn't say like the magic system in this story is elaborate by any means, but I just want it to make sense. I want there to be some kind of logic, because I think that there is drama that you can extract from introducing the rules of a system and then like breaking them, you know? They're not necessarily even huge changes. I think it's just more, I want to find a different way to present some of these key plot points, key world building details. That is what I did over the weekend, and I think we're almost ready to re-outline the book. Hi, Emily. Okay, so it's been an interesting few days. I've been making some slow progress on the process of like writing a synopsis for every chapter. I think because I'm trying to find a system of like taking inventory of the plot, but also trying to take notes for like for my draft 2 outline. Yeah, I just keep getting like distracted. That aside, I'm gonna keep working on that. Yesterday I had dinner with my friend Emily, who is usually one of the first people to read my stuff. Like whenever I finish writing something and I need someone to read it, but you know, it's still kind of in a very rough stage, she's usually one of the first people to read it. At first, when she like texted me, I was like, we do not need to like celebrate this freaking draft. Like, it's such a mess. It's not like it's the first time I've ever written a book. Should not be celebrating for something that still needs so much work. Like, that's what I thought in the back of my head. But then I think like as the week went by, I do think that it's really important to be okay with like celebrating the smaller victories when it comes to the journey towards publishing. I think because as I get further and further into this journey, this is what I was realizing yesterday. As I get further and further into the publishing journey, into my writing journey, it's only going to get harder from here. There's going to be so much rejection and failure like waiting for me. I think you kind of have to take every little victory that you can get to kind of like sustain yourself, because I think if you, or at least for me, like if I don't stop to reflect on the things that I actually have accomplished and the ways that I actually have grown as a writer, then I'm never going to feel like I am making progress as a writer, which is not true. Obviously, you don't write and like practice your craft for like 10 plus years only to be like, yeah, I haven't improved, you know? This concept of letting myself like my own writing, like just viewing writing as something that I am allowed to celebrate, and viewing my writing journey as something that I am allowed to be excited about. It's a foreign concept to me. I don't want to continue to be so self-deprecating and so cynical about this journey. Like, there's a difference between being humble and honest and setting realistic expectations versus perpetuating really, really negative self-talk. One of my New Year's resolutions was to be kinder to myself about my writing. So this is me trying, by Taylor Swift. I saw, okay, I was like watching this TikTok about like manifestation, and I don't really, I shouldn't say this, oh my God. The TikTok girlies are gonna come for me. I was about to say that I don't believe in manifestation. That is not true. I think I've always been of the mindset that like simply saying that you're gonna do something does not mean that it's actually gonna happen. But I understand the science and the culture around manifestation. I do, I get it now. I get it, because I think it is a process of like affirmation and of setting your mind to be able to like believe in your own success. You have to put in work, obviously you do, but I'm slowly starting to see the value in like speaking positively to yourself, because if you're only speaking negatively to yourself all the time, at least for me, has contributed to burnout quite a bit and wanting to quit and being like, oh, I'm never gonna progress in my writing journey, which is not true. I don't think I've ever shown this in a video before, but I actually have a piece of paper here that I wrote, I would say a year ago now. It could be less than a year ago, but about a year ago. It's called Affirmations and Manifestations. I actually wrote these at a time last year when I was feeling like pretty motivated. I was really starting to think my writing career. I was starting to think about it in bits and pieces, planning the types of projects that I would want to consider, like traditionally publishing, the types of agents that I like, dream agents I feel like I really would love to work with. And I think I started getting pretty overwhelmed about the whole process. I think there was something about like just doing research about the industry and everything was really overwhelming. So I made kind of a list of affirmations for myself. So yeah, I think I'm gonna end the vlog here. We've made a good start for the first round of revisions, planning them out. Thank you guys as always for watching this vlog. I hope all of your writing projects are going well, and I will see you in the next video.
I got my head out the sunroof. I'm blasting